Welcome back to Data Unscripted, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of data analytics and data development. How's it going, Daddy?
It's doing well, doing well. Today we're exploring a topic that's dear and near to my heart. CI/CD, or Continuous Integration and Delivery.
That's right, Daddy. We're going to break down the CI/CD process for both traditional software development and data analytics development. Let's start with the basics, Daddy. What exactly is CI/CD?
Yeah, great question, Ori. It's always this big buzzword, but it has a pretty intuitive explanation to it. CI/CD is a set of practices in software development that helps improve the speed, quality, and reliability of software releases. It's divided into two main parts or checkpoints. The first one is continuous integration or CI, and then continuous delivery or deployment, which is the CD part.
Could you elaborate on those for us?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so continuous integration is what needs to happen for new code to be added. Okay, so a developer is working on something and it wants to add it. This involves automated builds and tests in isolated environments, and it ensures that bad code doesn't get pushed into production.
That makes sense. And what about the CD part?
Okay, so continuous delivery is the second checkpoint, right? So now that the new code was added, this part includes releasing these changes to production. So this usually involves packaging the code base under a new version. This could be a new Docker image or a new zip file. And this package, or sometimes called artifact, replaces the old one in production. And this essentially means that a new version was deployed. Sometimes the actual deployment might still be manual, but most of the process is automated.
Right on. Now, I'm sure our listeners are wondering, why should I care about CI/CD? What are some of the benefits?
Yeah, there's a ton of benefits. People often think that writing the new code, it could be SQL, Python, or whatever, takes most of the effort. But getting this code safely into production is not a trivial task as one might think. Companies that incorporate a CI/CD pipeline usually have, one, faster time to market. They automate the build, test, and deployment processes so new features and bug fixes can be delivered to users much more quickly. They also get improved code quality because regular integration and automated testing catches bugs earlier, making them easier and less expensive to fix. Three, they enjoy a massive increase in productivity. Developers spend less time on repetitive tasks like manual testing and deployment, allowing them to focus more on writing the actual code, right? And most importantly, better collaboration. CI/CD encourages frequent code commits and integration. This promotes better communication and collaboration among team members.
Those are definitely important benefits. Can you maybe, to make it more understandable, quickly go through a typical CI/CD process for software development?
Yeah, sure thing. Okay, so let's take an example in software development. Okay, so CI/CD typically involves several key steps. So one, you need to make the actual code commit. Developers write code, commit changes to some sort of a version control system like Git. Then you need to build that code. The build is compiled and built into an executable format. Afterward, there's the unit testing. So this involves automated tests that are run to check individual components of the code. And then you have integration testing. So you have different modules or parts of the code that are tested together to ensure that the code base works as a whole. And then you have code analysis, right? Static code analysis tools check for code quality and potential issues. This enforces the code to be consistent, and it usually catches security issues and vulnerabilities. And then you have the artifact creation. You take the newly created version, you build it and test it and package it into a deployable artifact. And then you deploy that artifact to a staging environment. Staging environment is a replica, an identical environment as the production environment that usually you perform testing and stuff on top of it. After the code was deployed into the staging environment, you usually have acceptance testing. User acceptance tests are performed in the staging environment. This could be done by a product manager or a QA engineer that checks and reviews those changes manually. After you get all those checkpoints checked, you deploy that code to production, and then if all those tests are passing, the code is deployed to the production environment. When the code is in production, you then do monitoring. The application is monitored in production for any issues or performance problems.
That's a comprehensive process, Daddy.
Yeah.
Now, how does this translate to the world of data analytics development?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ori. There are some nuances in data development that are different from software development, but the overall concept is similar. A typical CI/CD pipeline in data development might look something like this. You start off with data transformation. Instead of writing application code, we're writing data models that cleanse, aggregate, and transform the data. We then move on to data pipeline development, configuring data pipelines and ETL processes. So this basically take those transformation and orchestrate them in a specific order to be executed. Then you have the version control. Just like in software development, we use version control system to track changes to our SQL, Python, or whatever. Mm-hmm. We then move on to data validation. This is similar to unit testing. We run automated checks on our data and models to ensure their quality and integrity. Now that we're done with the validation, we move on to the build process. In this context, building involves packaging the code into a version that you can later deploy as a whole. We then deploy our validated models and data pipelines to a staging environment. We usually do a test run of all the new code in the staging environment to make sure that nothing breaks. This involves the logic and the validation of those models. And then we deploy our validated and tested analytics assets to the production environment. And same as software development, we do monitoring and alerting. We set up monitoring for our data pipelines, watching for any anomalies or failures. For example, if there's an unexpected spikes in row count of a specific table.
Wow, that's quite a process, Daddy. Really shows how CI/CD and data analytics goes beyond just the development process and encompasses the entire life cycle of data and analytics products.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Ori. It's all about delivering faster and more reliable insights.
Yep. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks everyone for tuning in for another episode of Data Unscripted, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Talk to you later.